I think he's not doing a great job in running this province, and now he's trying to exercise his influence over other levels of government, and it's not like this guy is doing anything particularly well.
I mean, you did used to work for him.
I did. I'm speaking from experience.
Alrighty, we're back, folks. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today, we're going to be going over Pierre Poilievre's riding and how he lost his riding, why that is. Some other updates and things coming from that. We've got Mark Carney, our new Prime Minister, humiliating himself on the world stage. Absolute cringe, as well as Elizabeth May and a bunch of other these fools. Let's jump into this. First up, starting this off with Simieritsch. He has his predictions here and what the results were. He predicted 167 seats for the Liberals, 137 for the Conservatives, 24, 13, and 2. And the results, 168, he was one off, 144, 23, 7, and 1. So he's pretty close. With the most notable difference is a bunch of these NDP flipped for the Conservatives. This is quite remarkable. Well done. Yep, Simieritsch is our guy. And on global news, the final results we have here, there's still some results actually coming in. It's not done, but it's getting pretty close. We're seeing 43.7% of Canadians voted for the tax dodger, Mark Carney, and 41.3% voting for Pierre Poilievre. So these are actually big gains for Pierre Poilievre. And note here, 6.3% for the NDP, just a complete collapse of the party. So moving ahead to this big story here. So Bruce Vanjoy takes over Pierre Poilievre's riding. 266 counted, 50.8% versus 45.8%. So what happened here? Well, they changed the boundaries and they added this big section over here. Mark Carney's riding right here, Nepean, which he kicked out Chandra Arya for. Should note Chandra Arya was there for 10 years. I guess Liberals don't care about loyalty, but that's what happened. This one got trimmed off and a bit of it got added to Pierre Poilievre's riding. So let's just jump through a few stats here. We got table salt with this one. The Carleton riding, that's where all new home construction is in Ottawa. It's a lot of first and second generation immigrants, which break heavily Liberal. Now, why do they break heavily Liberal? That's the question. Now, I had someone who messaged me who works at Immigration Canada, allegedly, this person overheard some newcomers come in and somebody from the Liberal Party has been telling them they need to vote Liberal. When this person that emailed me talked to that person, said, hey, you can actually vote for any party you want to. You don't have to vote Liberal. The person was scared that they would be deported if they didn't. Now, if you're someone who works for the government and have proof of this, if you have audio tape, video, anything else you can send to me, please send it to me so this is not an alleged story. Second generation, first generation immigrants more likely to favor Liberals than Conservatives. Dead heat among those with weak or no connections to immigration. With that, we've got Conservative Kerry Diot from Edmonton. He is willing to give up his seat for Pierre Poilievre, so Poilievre would have to do a by-election and then win that seat. As Jinglai says here, this is such a selfless act. Now, this is not really the seat we would want for Pierre Poilievre, but it is a seat. Yeah, this is awesome. This is a very selfless act. So his riding is right here, just above these two that went Liberal and NDP. This one is safe enough, but the thing is, it's clear that the Liberals use all sorts of dirty tactics, 91 names on the ballots, all this kind of stuff. You really want to make sure it's like a rock solid riding that can't be fiddle-diddled with. There's some in Alberta here that are just crazy, like this one, 76% Conservative. That's the kind of seat we need for, and I'm not telling Glenn here to give up his seat, but that's the kind of seat we want to get for Pierre Poilievre so he doesn't get nuked by these attacks again. Meanwhile, on the CBC, this is what they have to say.
Well, the first thing I'll note is that there was not a hint that he thinks the election result isn't what it is. And I think it matters these days that the person who loses says this result is legitimate.
Yes, that's important.
So, second,
it's important that we say that on national television because isn't that obvious? Or maybe we should be looking because you guys just said that. I don't believe a single word out of any of these people's mouths. So while I think the counting of our ballots was legitimate, I think there was fiddle-diddle and some stinky actions going on beforehand. I don't think that, actually know that. We know that. We see it all the time. I mean, we had Xi Jinping campaigning for Mark Carney. And we got table salt with this one showing that 40,000 immigrants in 10 years, 95% growth of immigration was added to Poilievre's Carleton riding. This community faced rapid growth in a decade, soaring from population of 89,522 to 131,375. So they added 40,000 people. And then allegedly, these people were being told to vote for the Liberals. And allegedly, people were asked if they're voting for Bruce Vanjoy at the polling stations. This one coming from Brian Lilly here. It says, a reader sent me a written complaint that his wife made in the riding of Carleton at St. Michael's School on Cordery Road in Ottawa. Apparently the person handing out the ballots was asking, are you voting for Fanjoy? What kind of campaign was Bruce Fanjoy really running? That's the question here. We're going to be seeing a lot more of this greasy smile in the House of Commons. So the other thing going on in Pierre Poilievre's riding, which I'm sure you've seen, is this. This is the ballot. 91 people on the ballot. This comes from a group called the Longest Ballot Initiative, I believe. Their goal is to prove a point, put a whole bunch of people on the ballot, make a mess of our election. And this is an anti-conservative group, right? And so if you're going to vote for Pierre Poilievre, you really have to look through here, find Poilievre, as I mentioned, allegedly that person at that polling station asking people if they're voting for Bruce Fanjoy. You need 100 signatures from residents in that riding to vouch for you to be on the ballot. Rationally speaking, you would need to vouch for someone you will vote for. So all 91 candidates should have at least 100 votes. If you look at the votes, a bunch of them got 20 votes each, but that's basically it. It all just went down to almost nothing. So if we take a look at Pierre Poilievre's riding here, let's look at the numbers. Conservatives here in the first column, 2015 had 27,000 votes, then 32, then 35, this time 38,000 votes. He gained 3,000 votes from last time. Look at the Liberals, 25, 26, 24, 42. Once again, with that alleged story that newcomers are being pushed towards Liberals and they added a whole bunch of newcomers to this riding, it adds up. And as DMAC says here, Liberals with 18,000 extra votes this time, that's a 74% increase. This is an important fact here. So this is the Carleton riding. You can see the final results here, 58 to 45%. Now, if you look at the bottom, it shows all the ridings are in. Voter turnout, 86,000 of 105,889 registered electors, or 81.57% of people voted. 81% of people voted. That's way more than the national average. The national average was 68%. So this is very suspicious. Maybe 81% of the people did go out and vote in Carleton. But considering each person is supposed to have 100 people sponsoring them as an independent, and none of them got 100 votes, you can see here, 55, 45, 40, 30, da, 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 da. All these people got 100, yet they're only getting 3 votes. This is election interference. With all that, we've got Sam Cooper coming out today saying, in defeat, Joe Tay's campaign becomes a flashpoint for suspected voter intimidation in Canada. Police complaint registers last week. Joe Tay, an advocate for freedom fighting against the CCP, left Hong Kong, came to Canada, started a platform to push back against the CCP, and now the CCP is coming after him in Canada. As Sam says here, the same day the federal police advised Tay to suspend door-to-door canvassing, according to 2 sources with direct knowledge, citing safety concerns. Several days later, Tay's campaign reported to police that a man had been trailing a door-knocking team in a threatening manner in Don Valley North neighborhood. Following the Bureau's reporting, the New York Times wrote on Sunday, fearing for his safety, Mr. Tay has waged perhaps the quietest campaign of any candidate competing in the election. So China got their wish. They were able to silence Joe Tay by having goons follow his team on the street. Mark Carney hasn't come out and said anything about this because it's helped him in the election. He is business partners with Xi Jinping after all. So if this is happening in Joe Tay's riding, what else is happening in Pierre Poilievre's riding that we don't know about? Moving over to Mark Carney's after party, let's lighten things up with some unbelievable cringe. Get your barf bag ready. Okay, we have to mute some of this, but like, guys, this like, what is going on here? Isn't this guy in his 50s? He's unbelievable. He just became prime minister. This is how he's dancing around? No. There's another video, and this one's worse. Okay, we're gonna have to chop up the music a bit here because it's YouTube, but he's wearing a hoodie here that says Canada PM. This is awful. This guy is just, he is worse than Trudeau. He really is. You can't make this up. What is all this? Don't worry, it's not just Mark Carney. We've got Elizabeth May too, humiliating herself.
Our guest of honor is here. Elizabeth!
This is not what it looks like. This is not me giving you a speech or talking about the election, but I'm just going to wait till it's my turn. And we're the warm-up act because you've got real musicians and real talent coming up soon. So we figured, you know, It's my party, so I can sing if I want to. Life can be so sweet on the sunny side of the street. And to hear that.
I swear, just put this on repeat in prisons. You'll never have crime in this country again.
And that happy tune
Is yours.
Life will be so sweet on the sunny side of the
Okay, he's not bad, but Elizabeth May's awful. All they have to do is put Elizabeth May singing to Carney dancing and you'd have a real hit. It's sad that this was what we keep electing. Elizabeth May is a party of one. Get rid of the Green Party already. If you look at it, the Green Party didn't run candidates in 100 ridings so they could help out the Liberals. At this point, just get rid of the Green Party. And just listen to what Rosemary Barton says here as Elizabeth May being an effective parliamentarian.
Our other co-leader lost in his riding in Outremont, so we'll see what that means for the future of that party. But right now, only one seat, and it's hers, in British Columbia. She has always been an effective parliamentarian, but obviously difficult when growth continues to elude that party, particularly in an election like this.
Effective at helping the Liberals. She's been effective at doing nothing in Parliament. Her government is run by a bunch of toddlers. A bunch of people making jokes about Elizabeth May in here regarding stumbling juice. Like this one here, an effective, yep. We got Mario posting this one here, says never forget this is why the Liberals won. So most important factors when deciding to vote. It's this one right here. Donald Trump, dealing with Donald Trump, where everyone else it was reduced the cost of living. CBC watchers were scared of Donald Trump because that's all they put on crappy CBC broadcasting. The CBC is not journalism, it's a campaigning network. And taking a look at the ages here, the red is the over 60. I feel bad for the boomers for Pierre because that group gets tied to this group. We recognize boomers for Pierre. We love that you guys coming out and supporting Pierre. Unfortunately, there's a lot of boomers who succumb to endless CBC propaganda, the fear of Donald Trump. I want to point out one story too. I got an email from a dad saying that his daughter, I'm guessing probably early 20s, was so dedicated to vote for Pierre Poilievre. She went to go vote and she got mauled by 2 dogs, went to the hospital and still was able to make it out of the hospital and get to the voting station and still vote for Pierre Poilievre. Does Mark Carney have that loyal of a base? That's the question. I didn't see Mark Carney get any rallies with 15,000 people. With this chaotic election, we've got this breaking from Chris Stacey, officer involved in Pew Pew in downtown Ottawa. One person has been arrested outside the Rideau Centre and is receiving medical attention. Okay, this is our Canada. I foresee it getting worse. Yep, it sure will be. We got Danielle Smith coming out today. She's not happy. Not at all. Talking about Poilievre's vision for a safer, more affordable, united, and prosperous Canada has left Canada now for the time being. We're just getting started here. Once people see all Mark Carney skeletons, he will not stay prime minister. So as long as they don't get that majority and they're still in minority territory, they can only drag this out for so long. Danielle Smith goes on to say here, I invite the Prime Minister to immediately commence on working with our government to reset relationships between Ottawa and Alberta, meaningful action, not hollow rhetoric. Talking about Albertans who are deeply frustrated. She goes on to say, in the weeks and months ahead, Albertans have the opportunity to discuss our province's future, assess various options for strengthening and protecting our province against future hostile acts from Ottawa, and ultimately choose a path forward. There's already a meeting planned to talk about referendum for Alberta leaving. This was planned before the election. I don't have an update on that, but I'm guessing that meeting isn't canceled. So we'll see what happens here, but things are just going to get worse. And they are, because we got Doug Ford here chirping in saying the people have spoken.
On his victory last night, I also want to congratulate all the other leaders for working hard throughout this campaign. I know campaigns are very tough, but at the end of the day, the people have spoken. I always say the people are never wrong when it comes to elections, and now we have to get back down to work and start moving forward.
The difference is in this election, the people were not educated on who Mark Carney is, so they voted based on very little knowledge.
And get big national infrastructure projects done. We need that, one review that when it comes to assessments, we need to make sure we continue moving forward, getting critical minerals out of the ground, getting them refined right here in Ontario. That's what our focus is, as well as our energy projects. So there's a wide range of items that we have to focus on. But I can tell you one thing, it's not business as usual. That's not going to cut it. We have to make sure that we move fast, immediate.
Doug, there's no critical minerals being pulled out of the earth in Canada, not with Mark Carney. The only projects going forward, anything that works towards carbon credits and enriching Brookfield.
Or if not, President Trump is going to eat our lunch. That's what it comes down to.
When you say business as usual, do you mean the federal Tories should be working with the Liberals on those kinds of things so they don't have to make deals with the separatists? Or
No, I just believe we shouldn't be dragging our heels, take 15 years to get a permit. And, the province and the federal government are doing environmental assessments.
Well, maybe you should have come out and supported Pierre Poilievre then, Doug. Doug Ford and Corey Tanecki thought they could torpedo Pierre Poilievre's campaign and get away with it. But multiple creators are all banding together and it's not happening. I've already added Doug Ford to my board. So this is going to start to build out in Liberal red where it belongs. So if Dougie thinks he can run for the federal Conservatives now, think again. As this guy says here, if he thinks he can get a shot as the PC leader, he'd be sadly mistaken. Just listen to this clip Elevate shared here of Jamil Javani absolutely blasting Doug Ford.
Tonight, congratulations,
Thank
first
you
of
very
all.
much. Yeah, we have a great team here in Bowmanville, Oshawa North. Very excited and happy to bring home a victory.
I do want to ask you, Mr. Giovanni, because you've just spoken to your supporters, a large group that's here at the pub here in Bowmanville, North Oshawa, and you said to them, among other things, that Doug Ford was a problem for you in this campaign. You said that he sabotaged the Conservative campaign. That's your words. You said he was a hype man for the Liberals. Take me through how you see that.
Yeah, well, look, Doug Ford just went through an election. I have differences of opinion with him. I don't like how he's managed healthcare or education. But out of respect, we didn't say anything. Federal party, we didn't get in his way. When it was our turn to run an election, he couldn't stay out of our business. Always getting his criticisms and all his opinions out, distracting our campaign, trying to make it about him, trying to position himself as some kind of political genius that we needed to be taking cues from.
Was it him specifically? Was it his campaign manager, Corey Tanecki? Do you see Doug Ford as a problem for the federal party in the outcome of this race?
I see Doug Ford as a problem for Ontario and for Canada. I think he's not doing a great job in running this province, and now he's trying to exercise his influence over other levels of government, and it's not like this guy is doing anything particularly well. I mean,
You did used to work for him.
I did. I'm speaking from experience. I tried to fix problems in this province, and he kept getting in his way and all his goons around him all the time. They wouldn't make anything better, and now we're seeing him because this guy's a political genius because he beat Bonnie Crombie and Stephen Del Duca, and now we got to sit around getting advice from him? No. He has taken the provincial Conservative Party and turned it into something hollow, unprincipled, something that doesn't solve problems. He's glad-handing with Chrystia Freeland, having coffees and lattes with Mark Carney. And I'm sitting here saying we need to be fighting for change and something new and something different, not being a hype man to the Liberal Party.
Some would argue that the challenge within the federal Conservative movement is that there are these divisions, divisions that in some ways you're outlining tonight, and that it is the thing that stops or prevents, holds back the federal party from the majority government that it seats. Do you see that as a possible outcome to some of the fractions and frictions that exist within the federal party?
There is a lot of unity from Conservatives across the board. Peter MacKay and Stephen Harper and Jason Kenney, James Moore, all sorts of people who've been part of our movement for a long time, united behind Pierre. There are opportunists like Doug Ford. And I think it's not about ideology or differences of beliefs. It is about some people believing our purpose as Conservatives is to be an alternative to what the Liberals offer. And then there are people like Doug Ford who are opportunists. And I reject that outright.
Yeah, Doug Ford is a vampire. That's what he is. And once I break down that Greenbelt scandal that blew up a couple of years ago, I mean, it was $8 billion deal that he had to retract on because it would be helping out a friend. That's the kind of guy Doug Ford is. Next up, we got a strong message here from Mario talking about starting this movement and looking at the positives here.
We didn't get the results that we wanted, but there's a massive victory. Did you know that it's been almost 40 years since the Conservative government has had more than 41% of the popular vote? Pierre Poilievre came in at nearly 42%. The last time this happened was in 1988 when Brian Mulroney had 43% of the popular vote and had a majority government. We have all started a movement. Conservatives, they don't flip-flop. Once you're a conservative, you do not go back. Conservative policies are conservative policies, and you can only get them from one party and one party only. And that's where this country's headed towards. And don't listen to this nonsense of, oh, Pierre blew the lead. Oh, he completely blew it. He didn't. In fact, what I said weeks and even months ago even holds true today. Conservatives, they don't leave en masse and go to the Liberal Party. I said at best 2 to 3%. Maybe that's how much we lost. I never believed the polls. And the polls at one point had Pierre at about 44%. And there's a margin of error there. and the popular vote came back at 42%. This has nothing to do with conservative policies or Pierre's brilliant policies. It has everything to do with Donald Trump. The Liberals played the ultimate cynical card, Trump. Their whole campaign was based around Donald Trump. It scared enough voters to completely move away from the NDP towards the Liberal Party's platform of Donald Trump.
Yeah, it's important to note that the Liberals ran on fear and scaring people, and Pierre Poilievre ran on hope and building up Canada. Fear is a bigger motivator, unfortunately.
But Donald Trump didn't create the issues that we have today. Inflation, cost of living, housing, those are all Liberal policies. My hope is that Pierre doesn't go anywhere. This just proves to me that he was the right man fighting an uphill battle as a result of Donald Trump. We've won significantly more seats. Jagmeet Singh is completely out of the picture. Be patient, because I honestly believe Donald Trump is going to walk all over Mark Carney.
Well, that's just it. Mark Carney now has no excuses. So is he going to go be Mr. Banker and take on Donald Trump? Elbows up? We'll see. He's got to act now, Mr. Prime Minister. Go take care of Trump. Let's see it. The two most influential campaigners for the Liberal Party. Yeah, pretty much. As someone posted here, plus 25 for the Conservatives, plus 8 for the Liberals, minus 20 NDP. And the Bloc took a big hit here, minus 9. For now, we just need to rally around that. We got more seats. We got more representation. More people voting for the Conservatives. And as Mario mentioned, once you go Conservative, you don't go back. There's none of this flip-flopping you see between the NDP and the Liberals. The worst part about this election, with all this meddling from China and the mainstream media, is that there's real people that have been hanging on by their fingernails. I've had 2 people message me in the last week. These people were losing hope, but hung on strictly based on Pierre Poilievre winning and bringing back prosperity to Canada. I fear that the rate of people ending themselves in Canada is going to be spiking in the next week or 2 or month, or in the coming months. The Liberals don't think about this stuff. They don't care about this stuff. It's all about power and money to them. They don't care about people. They don't care about how their actions affect people. They only care about enriching their own bank accounts. This is going to take us a little bit more time, but we're not going to let these people destroy our country.